It's hard to think of an area of life that hasn't been changed by the internet, and that includes finding a life partner. The stigma associated with online matchmaking is completely gone, and with it have come some interesting shifts on how Muslims, young and old, are looking for love. Episode 12 of the podcast features Adeem Younis, digital entrepreneur and philanthropist. Adeem is the founder of the international humanitarian charity Penny Appeal, which provides poverty relief across Asia, the Middle East, and Africa. But before that, he founded SingleMuslim.com. With over 2 million registered users, it's the world's largest Muslim digital matchmaking platform, and it recently celebrated its 20th anniversary. Like a lot of successful entrepreneurs, you can really hear the energy and passion in Adeem's voice. I spoke to him via Zoom from his UK headquarters. Okay, so let's talk about Single Muslim. You've just celebrated your 20th anniversary. Maybe you can talk about how you started the website.
SingleMuslim.com started when I was 19 years old. And I guess at the time, I needed to get married myself, but a lot of my friends were in the same boat. We're at university, a lot of peer pressure, a lot of parental pressure, a lot of auntie pressure to get married. And, just like, mashallah, every time you go to a wedding, it's like, mashallah, you need to get married now. Have you found somebody? My story was, I guess it was a story of the whole generation. Your parents really kind of putting pressure on you at a young age. Having a girlfriend or having a boyfriend is haram. Don't you dare get seen with a girl. And then when it comes to teenage years, it's like, have you found somebody? Yeah. Are you gonna introduce me to anybody? And I'm like, what? You know what I mean? You've been like quite literally beating us up not to have a relationship or be seen with the opposite gender. And now you're saying, do you have anybody in mind? My family originates from Pakistan. I've still got a lot of family in Pakistan. And my mum was like, if you have somebody, it's great. You can introduce me. If you don't, we're going to send you to Pakistan and you can get married to your uncle's daughter. I was like, what? Get married to my uncle's daughter? Can't get married to my uncle's daughter. I don't know. She's family. She's like my sister. Like we call her Baji. And now you want me to get married to her.
Yeah.
So I thought, right, quick, got to think fast on my feet here. It was 2000. It was the initial, obviously the first .com bubble. There was a lot of hype around technology. There was a lot of hype around online. And that's where we kind of thought of the idea, Single Muslim. It's a marriage platform for Muslims. I guess in the West, we all have fast-paced lives and we live in little pockets. And even if we have good jobs or we are in a good career or we live in a good neighborhood, we don't have the same access to other Muslims, let alone suitable Muslims in the age group, in the similar professional, similar interests that you can meet and bump into for the purpose of marriage. And it seemed like a no-brainer, create something online. And alhamdulillah, it was a no-brainer. We were early adopters to a laggard community. I think our inventions were a little bit too early for mainstream Muslims to catch on. But, we definitely got in at the right time. And now we know from all different apps of all sorts, we created this scene. So now we know of the Single Muslim app scene and whatnot, but our marriage app was the first. So alhamdulillah, we've enjoyed a challenging but an interesting 20-year journey. Yeah. Technology has changed, gone from mainly desktop to now mobile applications, and we've had to change during that time. But one thing stayed consistent, and that's and that was before our time, and I guess it's part of our faith as Muslims, and that's the fact that marriage is half of our deen, and that's how important it is. It's half of our religion, it's half of our faith. So people will do whatever they need to do, especially Muslims, to find the right one. So alhamdulillah, we've got 3 million plus people on our platform now. Hundreds of thousands of marriages and tens of thousands of little babies as well in terms of, our legacy, inshallah.
That's amazing. What you were saying earlier, this idea, being in the community and going from knowing people your whole life and your parents keeping a watchful eye on you saying, why are you talking to this girl? Why are you talking to that girl? And then all of a sudden it totally shifts. I know in the community that I was from, very few of the boys and girls who were in that community ended up getting married to each other, partly because they just weren't able to make that transition. But, I suppose we're around the same age and online matchmaking wasn't such a big thing or a done thing at that time. Yeah. But now it's totally common and people are very open about it. So why do you think attitudes have changed to it?
The attitude has changed simply because there's no other way, and we've had to embrace the technology. We've had to embrace this way, which is, and it's become totally normalized in mainstream. And I guess we've adopted the same space, but we have a purpose, and that purpose is marriage. So we're not on there for casual relationships, and we're not on there for any other kind of flings or one night stands. Platforms like singlemuslim.com are there for long-term, genuine, wholesome relationship, what Muslims call marriage. And I think there is no other way. There is absolutely no other way to find people at a click of a button that meet a certain criteria, whether that be locality, whether it be education, background, income, height, hobbies, interest, religiosity, anything like that. You can just go click, 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 and then you'll have thousands of people, just there basically. And then you go through, and some may have photographs, and the others may have photographs that you have to request. Others might not have photographs, and then you just send a message, and it works because people, Muslims have got that focus and that attitude really that they need to make it work, and they're here and they're serious about marriage. And I guess when two people are serious and have that focus and then are compatible, then why not? Bismillah, let's get our folks involved. But on our platform, about 20% of the profiles that are registered, they're for people who are looking for their children. They're looking for their siblings, and some people on there looking for their parents as well. So it is a community based app. It's not just something that is solely for individuals and that's it. I'm going to go and I'm going to find the love of my life and I'm going to fall head over heels. No, if you're concerned about your child, you're concerned about your sibling, and you can put a profile on there looking on behalf of. And it really works. And some of the most successful marriages that I've seen are where families use this as a tool. They use this as a stepping stone to be able to find where traditionally community aunties or tribal elders used to step in and say, look, we've got somebody who matches who you are. They match you because of your industrialist background or your background in this field or that field or your locality. They might be from that village or they might be from that city. We don't have that anymore. We've lost that. So, Muslims in the West, this is the next best thing, really. And it really works when families are involved. They'll do the long list. And we've seen it many, many times where the brother, sister, child comes home after work and there's a long list. What do you think? And they go through it. They're like, oh, yeah, because she'll fit in perfectly because our family's like this, or he might not work because he does this, or, the profession's different or the locality is different. And, dad might not be happy with that and so on and so forth. And that whole process, when we've met up with success stories and we talk through their journey, in the initial days of launching the website, it was almost like, what's the point of going and seeing people? Because all they'll say is, yeah, we got married off single Muslim, thank you very much. We got married off single Muslim, thank you very much. But every time I go to see a married couple that I've met through singlemuslim.com, the journey is very, very different. The journey is always different. We've had people that are literally been living next door to each other and not known that they exist. And then we've had people that live in different continents, different racial backgrounds, different everything, different cultures, different traditions that have come together. And alhamdulillah, it's such a big blessing to be part of that union and inshallah part of their coming together for eternity. It's something very, very powerful and something so deep, and it puts goosebumps on my back of my neck just thinking about it.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing the success that it's had, particularly the number of users and the number of reported marriages. These are tremendous figures that we're talking about. What do you attribute this success to? Because there are a number of different platforms that are out there, and a number of the platforms fall victim to abuse by users or fake profiles, or people making indecent propositions, friends, relatives of mine who have gone on site saying, well, people are just trying it on to see if they can get somewhere with me. I don't know how genuine they are. So what is Single Muslim doing differently?
Yeah, and to be fair, that is the online world, and the online world is no different to the offline world and the real world. The person that you might sit next to at work, the person that you sit next to on the bus, the person that you sit next to in the restaurant. However, when you communicate to somebody and you communicate to someone for the purpose of a relationship, for the purpose of getting to know them for marriage, is very, very different. You kind of cross those bounds. And, we always hear about the keyboard warriors and people that kind of almost lose their inhibitions when they're online and they can say things that they would never, ever, ever say in a social setting. That's what we're dealing with. But with singlemuslim.com, it's an app. It's something it's there, and we tell people, we inform people, it's all about marriage. So I guess the people register knowing the fact that they're registering on a Muslim app for marriage, and then they go through the whole process and we ask them about their credentials and, do they pray Salah and have they been on Umrah and Hajj and so on and so forth, and do they keep halal? And then we have a team, I guess 75% of our time, our human capital is based on keeping our users safe, security, moderation. All our profiles are vetted with a human moderator. All our images, content, we have algorithms that pick up any sort of language that might be shady in whatever way. That then pops up, and it's kind of like vetted through a human administrator. Our moderators are trained in terms of picking things up that normal people might not pick up in terms of IP names, users, description, language, and that kind of thing. And a lot of time and training goes into the safety of our users. And I think it's just about being there at the right time, hitting the critical mass pretty much, especially in the UK and US. We've got somebody in postcode every city and in most communities. But then it's just about having a zero tolerance policy and having an authentic approach. We know our families use singlemuslim.com, our friends, our cousins. We recommend people to go onto the app and say, look, use the app. It's a safe, secure environment. And also, I guess we make it very, very easy for people to report other individuals that they might not feel are genuine. And again, our team takes a zero tolerance policy on that. And if anybody that's found wanting for anything else apart from a serious relationship for marriage or marital purposes is suspended or removed. And I think it's just being known for a serious marriage app rather than just a swipe right or a swipe left and that kind of frivolous relationship that people associate to online, especially in the kind of dating genre, online dating apps.
Do you have a sense about how people themselves have changed based on using the apps or knowing that the apps are out there? Because, I think in the early days, people were adopting to the technology. It was something you might have in the back burner, maybe be more parent-driven, family-driven, using the app. But it seems now that people have access, everyone has access, easy access to a mobile phone. You have easy access to the app. You can start conversations with people very easily. You could be having conversations with multiple people at the same time. All of the inhibitions, transaction costs that you normally have when you have to get involved in a relationship with someone, those are all very much lowered by the app. So do you have a sense that people are using it differently than they did 20 years ago when first launched?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. In the early days, there were people that were web savvy and online, savvy, and not everybody. I mean, we take online and apps as just for granted now that these have always been here. But people that were technologically advanced and maybe knew that it was there, it's like, what? You can go online, you can go on the internet and you can find a wife? Oh, wow. Yeah. We've actually had stories where people have learnt, especially the elderly community. An example, a widower heard that you could find marriage on the internet, and he actually learned how to use a computer because of singlemuslim.com. Yeah. He wanted to find a wife. So it's like, so we've got all those kind of stories. But the main thing in terms of the changing of attitude, I'd say it's the opposite way around. Initially, there was a lot of individuals because families were like, really? Isn't the internet where you find this and that? And doesn't this happen on there? And doesn't happen on there? A lot of scaremongering in the early years. But now we've got a lot more families that's the only way. Have you not done it online? Have you not tried online? Have you not tried the Single Muslim app? Why have you not tried that? That's where Shaista found her husband. Do you know what I mean? That's where I got married. So we've been to households where we've been invited for weddings, and it's like, who's this guy? Oh, he's a guy from Single Muslim. Oh, but why didn't you tell him that we got married off Single Muslim as well? And they got married off Single Muslim as well. Yeah. Oh, and you got married. So he's like, whoa. That room full of newly married couples, like majority of them are like, yeah, we've been on Single Muslim and that's where we got married, isn't it? Isn't that when everybody gets married? So it's just become a lot more acceptable now. And I guess that acceptability, it's just got a saying in the office, and it's like success breeds success. It's just now, it just is that, I guess. It's just accepted that this is the norm. So it's like aunties, and your mum and you kind of community elders, like, have you not been on the app? Why don't you try the app? That's just the way that I guess the community are now rolling. And I guess it's the need as well. It's like, and we're good where if we need to phone our our parents, grandparents or whatever in India, Pakistan, Bangladesh. We know the cheapest calling card. We know where to go for the best deals, and you can't beat. We spend tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of pounds, dollars on the actual wedding day. A few dollars, a few pounds to find the right one is literally like, it's insignificant.
One of the big concerns that parents often raised living in the West, especially people with girls, were saying, well, how are we going to find a husband for our daughter when the boys in the community were going back to Pakistan, Bangladesh, or other back to the home country to find a wife. Yeah. And, I kind of feel like in the early days, people, when they immigrated over to different countries, wherever it might be, the primary concern was preserving the culture. And the way you did that was going back to the home country and then finding a wife. But I think that attitude sort of changed, partly because of economic considerations, right? One of the best ways to get ahead is you have two professionals getting together. And I think then a little bit of that attitude changed. Men tend to marry same socioeconomic bracket or lower, whereas women will marry same socioeconomic bracket or higher. And if you have a well-educated girl, they need to get a well-educated guy. That's what they're looking for. And so it's harder to find that if you're really restricted. And if all the guys are just going back to the home country and, marrying their cousins or whatever else. So I kind of feel like adoption of an app like Single Muslim really provides that opportunity to look beyond your community and then find like-minded people instead of just being restricted geographically.
Yeah, and you what it is, Ali, is just what you said there. It's about having an option, isn't it? And it's about having a real option. So a lot of the people in the early years were like, our parents are forcing us to go back to their motherland. What shall we do? Well, you know what? What you should do is you should get onto Single Muslim and you should search for somebody and you should put that as an option to your parents, and they're not going to be happy. Then you should get the community elders involved, and you should, in a justified and an Islamic way, rebel with an option. Just don't say no, because you're at an age where you have a responsibility to be married and conduct yourself in a proper way and move on with your life. And it's just human nature. You've got those needs, you've got those urges, and you've got to fulfill that within the bounds that we know, and not having relationships outside marriage, but having a marital relationship and making it halal. And I think that's the option. When the options weren't there, or when the options weren't known, then you can say, oh, well, there was no other choice and I had to do this, and so on and so forth. But when you've got the choices, and Single Muslim provides the largest choice of single Muslims probably in the world, then you don't really have an excuse. And I think morally and ethically, of course, Islamically, we are at liberty to choose your own partner.
Finally, where you see the trends in online matchmaking going, because I guess you've seen a lot over 20 years, a lot of marriages, a lot of changes in the technology. So where do you think it's headed?
I think we're seeing some of that now, and we've been forced with the post-COVID world, a lot more Zoom calls, a lot more virtual meetings. For sure, what will happen and what is already happening is virtual spaces. You'll be able to sit in some Hawaiian beach resort and maybe meet somebody there, virtually. Maybe you'll be able to virtually meet in a restaurant and have a cup of tea together, but you can be tens of thousands of miles apart. So that's one thing for sure in terms of that virtual space and being together but not being together, having video conferencing technology which will make it feel like you're actually really there. And I think the other thing is, again, some of the mainstream are already doing this, is gamification. So really turning time of sending a message and receiving a message into more than just messaging, in terms of getting to know somebody, maybe having a game of chess online, or maybe kind of having any other interaction which allows you to get to know the other person's personality. Are they generous in their interaction? Are they a pushover? Are they an introvert? Are they an extrovert? And getting to understand people's personalities before you meet. Again, tools and ways and methods of really engaging more than just like the old an email or a message or a WhatsApp type notification. Maybe more places and platforms where parents, guardians, walis can meet as well and say, look, well, we're looking for this and we're looking for that, we're looking for the other. So abilities for kind of genuine forums for people to, and we've been going in the direction of kind of online passports and e-passports and e-identities and whatnot. So we spoke earlier about the challenge that we have online. That could all be a thing of the past as well, because you just almost zap into like, yep, you got this, you got a job, da 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 da, beep 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 beep. All that is past. So if somebody owns a property, if somebody's in debt, if somebody's had previous history of anything, and that could be flagged up. So all of that kind of online verification and whatnot, which is a very, very scary thought as well. I think those the real trends. But then anything else is possible as well. Technology moves at a rapid pace. Who could have thought be where we are now, even 5 years ago? So, but I think whichever way the tech goes, I think the most important thing is that humans are humans. Unless you start betting chips into us, which is being done as well.
Yeah.
Ultimately, where we have emotions, we have feelings, we have desires, we need to be loved. We have this innate kind of ability to want to love somebody as well, and that's not going to change. That's been with us for the beginning of time.